We're back. I'm Aron Bernstein. Now that you know how to tonicize and modulate to the key of 5, we're going to do the same thing with other key areas. We can create a secondary dominant for any key, and just like with the key of 5, it's going to involve some chromaticism. And with that, I bring the holidays to you. Last time we looked at this carol, but we only made it through the first 4 chords. There's that 2-7 chord, the secondary dominant for 5, also called 5-7 of 5. Now let's continue. Notice we have another accidental in there. It's a D sharp, which definitely doesn't belong in our key of G major. This is our 3 chord, which in the key of G major is supposed to be a B minor 7th. But that D sharp makes this a B dominant 7th chord, or B7. Listen again to how strongly it wants to go to the following chord. The next chord is E minor, the 6th chord, and it's been tonicized by this B7. Let's see how. As we saw in the last video, the 5-7 chord is a 5th above the 1 chord, and makes a strong cadence in the key of 1. The 2-7 chord is a 5th above the 5 chord, and therefore tonicizes the key of 5. 5-7 is the dominant of the 1 key, and 2-7 is the secondary dominant of the 5 key. So we can shift our sense of home key to any chord, meaning we can tonicize any key area by finding its secondary dominant. In We Wish You a Merry Christmas, we tonicize the 6th key area, E minor, so we need to build a secondary dominant for that key. A 5th above E is B. You can also invert that 5th into a 4th below, same result. So we need a dominant 7th chord built on B. Now diatonic harmony isn't going to do the job. If we only use the notes of our G major scale, our 3 chord is a minor 7th. So we have to raise the 3rd of the chord, D, to D sharp. Now our 3 chord is a B dominant 7th, and it creates an authentic cadence in the 6th key area. In effect, the 3-7 chord now tonicizes 6. So let's watch this play out in We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Back to our 4-voice arrangement, soprano, alto, tenor,
and bass.
Here's 3-7, 6, 2-6, 5-7-1. Let's see how the secondary dominant is arranged. The bass has the root, B, the alto has the 3rd, D sharp, the tenor has the 7th, A, and the soprano doubles the root, B again. Notice we're missing the 5th, F sharp, but just like in a major or minor triad, that's also the dispensable note in any dominant 7th chord. Now the 2 tendency tones are the 3rd and the 7th, D sharp and A. When going from a secondary dominant to the chord we're tonicizing, the 3rd resolves up and the 7th resolves down. The D sharp resolves up to E, while the A should resolve down to G. So let's see if that happens in our music. Here's the alto with the 3rd, D sharp, and that resolves up to E. Now the tenor with the 7th. It should resolve down, but it doesn't. Look at the soprano. At the last minute, the soprano takes that A, the 7th, and then immediately resolves it down to G, as it should. The tenor was shaping up to resolve that 7th, but the soprano took that role at the last minute. So the tenor can't also resolve the A down to G, because then we'd get
parallel octaves.
All he can do instead is go up to B, giving us the 5th of the E minor chord. So this is a somewhat more elaborate resolution of a secondary dominant, but the rules still apply. The tendency tones are the 3rd and the 7th. The 3rd resolves up, and the 7th resolves down. So that's 5 of 6. Let's get some practice tonicizing other key areas. How about 2? Let's go to the key of B flat major, and our 2 chord is going to be C minor. So we need to build the secondary dominant for that key. A 5th above C, or a 4th below, is G. Build a 7th chord on that note, and we get a G minor 7th. We're not done yet, because this needs to be a dominant 7th chord. So raise the 3rd from B flat to B natural. And now we have our secondary dominant, a 6-7 chord, and that tonicizes the 2 key area. Notice the tendency tones again, the 3rd and the 7th of our secondary dominant. The 3rd resolves up, and the 7th resolves down. Next example, let's tonicize 3. Step 1, our 3 chord is going to be D minor, so go up a 5th, or down a 4th, and that's A. Step 2, build a 7th chord on A. Step 3, raise the 3rd of the chord, C to C sharp. Notice we're still not done because we don't have a dominant 7th chord yet. Yikes! Not only did we have to raise the 3rd, this time we also have to raise the 5th, E flat to E natural. Now we have an A7 chord, 7-7 this time, and that tonicizes our 3 chord, D minor. So 2, 3, 5, and 6 are the most commonly tonicized key areas in a major key. 5 of 2, 2. 5 of 3, 3. 5 of 5, 5. 5 of 6, and 6. And remember, no matter what, add whatever accidentals are necessary to ensure your secondary dominant is a dominant 7th chord, major triad, and a minor 7th. Let's do just 2 more examples. Now, in a minor key, 3 and 4 are common key areas to tonicize. We're in A minor now, and our 4 chord is D minor. Go up a 5th, or down a 4th, and that's A. Build a 7th chord on that, then raise the 3rd to get a dominant 7th chord. That's our secondary dominant for the 4 key area, A7, a 1-7 chord. 1, 5 of 4, 4. What if we want to tonicize 3? As you know, that's the relative major, C major. The secondary dominant is going to be a G7, and guess what? We've already got it. Build a 7th chord on G, and you're done. It's already a dominant 7th. So in a minor key, 5 of 3 is the only secondary dominant that doesn't require any chromaticism. Your 7 chord is already the secondary dominant for 3. Alright, we've been tonicizing like bandits. But this whole time, have we actually modulated? Let's make one final stop at the holidays. 1, 4, 5 of 5, 5. 5 of 6, 6. 2, 6, 5, 1. Even though we've tonicized the key areas of 5 and 6, we still end up right back in the home key without modulating. Same thing happens in the opening of Bach's 3rd Brandenburg Concerto. Tonicizing 5, but we just go right back to 1. So as we saw in the previous video, simply tonicizing a key area isn't enough. You have to stay there if you really want to modulate. Let's see the lengths that Mozart is willing to go to make sure that a modulation really sticks. A little night music, anyone? We're in G major again, and by the end of the 2nd measure, we see the raised 3rd of our 2 chord, an A7. This is 5 of 5, and right away here's the 5 chord, D major. Notice that Mozart doesn't just tonicize 5 once, but 3 times. This really helps destabilize G major as the tonic in favor of D. But even this isn't always enough. Mozart knows the 5 chord still has a strong tendency toward 1, so barely a measure later he creates an E7 chord. This tonicizes the A7, 5 of 5. If you want to drive yourself up the wall, you could say it's the secondary dominant of the secondary dominant. But let's be reasonable. From this point on, it's helpful to think of the music as already being in the key of D major. So in that key, this E7 is the 2-7 chord, and the A7 is 5. Basically, we've tonicized the 5 chord in the new key of D major, and by the 7th measure, these repeated 5-1 cadences really seal up the modulation. Our ears have completely forgotten the sound of our home key, G major, and D major now sounds like the tonic. So a quick recap on modulation. Let's reduce all this to the basic chords. To modulate effectively, Mozart begins by using a secondary dominant, A7, to tonicize the 5 chord, D major, but he does it repeatedly, not just once. Then, to really pivot the music toward the 5 key, he tonicizes that secondary dominant, turning this 6 chord, an E minor 7th, into an E dominant 7th. That's now 5-7 of A major, our secondary dominant. So by this point, it's way more convenient to think in terms of D major. This E7 was the 6 chord in G major, now it's the 2 chord, our secondary dominant, in D major. And this A chord was 2 in G major, but now it's the 5 chord in D major. So D, A was 5-2, 5-2 in the old key. Now it's 1-5, 1-5 in the new key. Let's hear the whole thing one more time, and this time we'll go on and we'll hear what Mozart does after he's modulated. Being solidly in D major, Mozart wastes no time in giving us some more secondary dominants. Here's B major in first inversion, and that's 5 of 2, E minor, so right away he's tonicized 2. That becomes 2-7 in third inversion, and then we end the phrase on 5, a half cadence. Next phrase. We've got an F sharp 7 in first inversion, and that's 5-7 of B minor. Now we've tonicized 6. Then it's 2-6, 1-6-4, and 5, another half cadence. So Mozart gives us 2 phrases, each tonicizing a different key area. 2 and 6. Of course, we can tell by the last measure that tonicizing is all that's been done. We're still in D major, so no further modulation has taken place. Way to go. By now, we've done more than just step out the front door. We've really begun to leave home. So try the worksheets for this video and get some good practice at tonicizing and modulating key areas other than 5. Now, we've got more modulation ahead, but in our next video, we're going to use the diminished 7th chord. Goosebumps.